Okay.
Hello, Journal Goddesses. This is Dion, the Tea Priestess, Rough Sloan, and I am here with a first in the series called Tea Talks, where I invite some of my favorite creatives that I have met online. I interview them and just get to know them a little bit better and hope that you will love them as much as I do. Today, you are in for a super treat. I am here with Imani Brown. She is an amazing tattoo artist. She has the Kawaii lifestyle. We were just talking that the Kawaii lifestyle didn't choose us. We didn't choose the Kawaii lifestyle. The Kawaii lifestyle chose us. And she is a tattoo artist. She is part of the DC Kawaii Life. She has ink the ink play shop. I mean, she's got some amazing things going on, and I can't wait for you to find out more. Hello, Imani.
Hello, how are? Oh my God, I love you. Thank you. Like, yeah,
So,
it is.
yeah, we were talking about how creativity is just a birthright and should be as natural as breathing air or drinking water. And with all the environmental concerns going on right now, we're seeing that even breathing air and drinking water is becoming a really a challenging resource.
Yeah.
But when you have people who approach you who think that they are not creative, how do you kind of help them to open their creativity?
So I'm a fan of doodling,
Mm,
and most people will say I can't draw unless it's a stick figure, right?
mm-hmm.
Well, there it is. You know what I mean? So when people say that, then I'll abruptly point out, like, if you could draw a stick figure, then you have something creative within you to offer. You just have
Mm,
So, you can sit there and doodle and just draw stick figures if you want, draw hearts, draw something that's actually going to get you in tune with your mind.
mm,
I remind people that, every time you write a letter, the letter E, A, all of those characters is a form of drawing. Every time you put
mm-hmm.
paper, you're drawing.
Mm,
So it's
yeah,
not as complicated as, I guess, what we're taught drawing is, more than, drawing is a series of doodles.
yeah.
So doodle whatever you want and enjoy it. And while you're enjoying it, talk to yourself, have conversations with yourself. They say that talking to yourself is only crazy people talk to themselves, and you're actually crazier if you answer yourself. I
Mm,
say all the way into being crazier, sit there and doodle and actually talk to yourself. Have a conversation. Start talking about what you want to do that's creative. Why don't I have creativity? Oh my. And before you know it, you'd be surprised of what came out on that small piece of paper, and you'd be like, well, I don't know how to do that again, but I'm gonna try.
mm-hmm,
You
mm-hmm,
know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, I say we don't write letters, we draw them because we had to learn how to hold the pencil or the pen. We had to learn how to make the line. We had to learn how to put the lines together in a series in order to make the shape of that particular letter. We had to learn how to do that. And
exactly.
for me, the first language that we learned pictures. We didn't learn the words. Somebody pointed at to it and said, "See, dog," and we repeated, "Dog." See,
Right.
all of these concepts that we think that we can't draw, we were taught them by looking at mama, dada, sissy, brother, all of these things we were taught by looking at the physical representation, not looking at a word. The writing of the characters came later. The
My brain
pictures
is
were what came first.
exactly. My brain is doing stuff because as soon as you were like mama, dad, all I can remember is literally the stick figures of like the family. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
tall mom that's
Yeah.
strong, but she's got on like a little triangle skirt.
Yeah.
It's literally just like that's literally how you started learning. I think Felicia Rashad has a quote that's floating around as a meme right now. Before a child can talk, or before you teach a child how to talk, they're singing. Before you teach a
Mm.
child how to write, they're drawing. And a few other things that I shared it, and people were literally like, I never thought about that. And I was like, well, that's sad. That's
Yeah.
unfortunate because at the end of the day, where you get frustrated with kids about things that are innately creative, they're showing you literally their communication. And that's all it is, it's communication. And if you strip yourself of that, you stripped yourself of some really, really good life gems.
Mm,
Really
mhm,
good
mhm,
life gems.
mhm, mhm. So take me back a little bit. We talked a little bit before we got recording about how you found the Kawaii lifestyle and how it really supported you in with your depression and your suicidal tendencies and the cutting and all of that. So you created the space to where you could reach for the light outside of yourself. When did you discover that, and then how has it kind of transformed as you have continued to grow that with for yourself?
Ah, so I think I talk a lot about conscious and subconscious or unconscious decisions. So, like,
Mm, mhm,
subconscious would be doing things and you didn't know that it was something that you really needed to be conscious of doing. I think I was reaching for Kawaii lifestyle and in the lifestyle, enjoying it as a hobby before I consciously understood how it was a tool for me, if that makes sense.
mm, mhm,
So I
mm,
was already living the lifestyle. I was dressing, going out with friends for Korean barbecue and karaoke afterwards, all these things. And it wasn't until I think there was at some point while I was at Pins and Needles, I got extremely like suicidal depressed, like maniacally depressed. And I was like, these stripes make me happy. Just gonna wear mismatched stripes. Forget it. And then it was like, this isn't Lolita, but this cohort makes me feel good, specifically with stripes. So after a while, it was more so specific things within J fashion that I
mhm,
started noticing that if I kept them around me, they would just trigger happy sometimes. So, having on striped socks and the fact that I could wear them mismatched, but they made sense for Japanese street fashion.
mhm,
So
mhm,
people thought I looked cool because they didn't know what was going on. So it started triggering things, and after a while, I'm not exactly sure when it happened, but definitely while I was at Pins and Needles, was when I realized that I was onto something that this would be a tool for me. It became more of like a coping tool. If I was at Pins, tattoo is a walk-in. If you work in a walk-in shop, and I'm sure you know about energies and how people can
mhm,
come in, their energies drop off of them
mhm,
and onto you. So I was collecting people's energies, and I didn't even know like I was getting severely depressed, and other things where I was just like, but this isn't me.
mm,
I
mm,
didn't know what was happening. So the
mm,
more I would dive into Kawaii lifestyle, the more it was like I was creating a bubble for myself.
mm,
I
mm,
returned to that space because nobody knew about it. They didn't know what they were looking at. They didn't understand. And the people who did understand sat in my chair. So
mm,
it was
mhm,
okay.
mhm,
But I
mhm.
literally made my tattoo space more kawaii. I started pulling in my favorite original characters, Doraemon, Hello Kitty, um, uh, Rila Kuma, started pulling in all these things where it was just like, if my eye could get a twitch of that, then I'll be okay. I'm still in my bubble and I can still be in control of this world.
Mm, mm,
After a while, it was like, I started recreating, I started doing art installations. So if I was invited out to do art, I'm also, excuse me, as an artist, I'm very introverted. Well, as a
mm,
human, I'm extremely introverted. So what I realized is, or what I tried to do for a live painting gig one time was recreate my space the same way I did at Pins. So I was
mm,
like, if I recreate my space, I'll be more comfortable and we'll see what happens in terms of how people engage. Well, what do you know? It was a hit.
mm,
People
mm,
didn't know what they were looking at. They're looking at Kawaii and they're seeing all this pink stuff, all this fun, cute stuff, plushies everywhere. But really, all it was my own self care to be able to
mm,
push beyond my boundaries. And after a while, I just kept doing it. Like this seems to be a thing. People enjoy it. It's making other people happy, which in turn makes me happy because that's that self-servicing
yeah,
happiness.
that symbiotic relationship that you have going
Yeah,
on,
like
right?
the more helpful I am, if you're happy with my help, then that makes me happy and I feel useful. So
Mhm,
once I started realizing that push and pull, I was like, that seems to be something important for me. So I'm just gonna keep doing it. So every
mm,
time I did an installation, I would do it and I would just kind of take in and decompress how everybody felt afterwards. Don't you
mm.
installations are what got me some of my longtime supporters and tattoo customers. Literally,
Mm,
I've done
mm.
photo shoots in these installations where I'm just like, I don't want to do it at a tattoo shop. Forget it. It's not cute enough anymore. Doesn't
Right,
make
right.
it. So then, before you know it, I've created these worlds where I'm welcoming people into my own world, which is essentially almost like welcoming people into my mind. And then it's just like, I could do this, and I would like to show other people how to access that too. So that
So you touched on a lot of really important things there. There's kind of this spiritual aspect in your self-care for your own artwork, and then there's this other kind of bubble that you've created in which you've got your bubble for yourself personally, and then you've got this bubble that you kind of create for the people for whomever will vibe with your art. And then you've got even a third bubble of people who you more intimately work with, because a tattoo is a very, very intimate thing. So could you take me to that process? Like when did you get interested in the tattoo art? And
oh,
how
that,
did that enter into the kawaii-ness?
oh man, because all this is hand in hand with mental health.
Mm,
I actually started getting tattooed because I was cutting. I
mm-hmm.
was in college. I was cutting, and at some point, again, subconsciously, you don't know what you're doing, but you know that there's supposed to be something more that's supposed to happen there. So subconsciously, it was just like, this isn't right, but it's right.
Mm,
So it was almost like I had arrived at something that would help me cope, but I guess the mechanism, the tool, wasn't the right tool. So cutting
mm,
was the
mm.
right tool, but that release was exactly what I needed to be able to cope. So at some point, I was like, well, if I'm going to get tattooed, or if I'm going to cut, at this time too, I was cutting. I was in my ankle. I have a very deep scar from when I was 5, so I was cutting in my ankle so that way my mom wouldn't know. I didn't care about
Mm,
anybody else being able to see anything. I just didn't want to explain anything to my mom. So
mm, mm.
I was cutting in my ankle so I wouldn't be able to, show her. And after a while, it was like, this is going to, I'm not going to be able to cut here after a while. So subconsciously, something was like, you should go get a tattoo. You've been doodling them. I had an actual book of doodles for
Mm.
getting tattooed. And at some point, that's what I did. I was like, I waited till my next anxious moment. I had a very, very small budget, $60. And I went to West End Tattoo in Atlanta, and I got tattooed. Um, it wasn't until years later that I realized that I was letting somebody into a very intimate part of my life, whether they
Mm.
understood why I was getting tattooed or not, because when I came home, I was getting tattooed by this white guy regularly. And at some point, just a voice was literally just like, you should ask about how to tattoo, so that at least you know what you're allowing somebody to do to you that you won't do to yourself.
Mm, mm.
So I asked, and the week before he had told me that he wanted to take me out, but the late I think like literally the next week, and I used to always keep a tattoo budget, because
Mm,
if anxiety hit too much to where I couldn't cope, I didn't want to go back to cutting. So I would always keep a budget. I always kept ideas. Um,
mm, mm.
and one particular session, it literally was like, hey, you should ask now. And I literally asked right at that moment that it dropped into my mind. And he said he wouldn't teach a Black person, let alone a woman. And I said,
Interesting.
exactly. I was like, okay. People here and they're always like, what did you do? You shouldn't. Nah, it's cool. That was the last tattoo he did on me. And what that did was actually make me take my request for somebody to teach me even more serious than I would have taken the person teaching me.
Mm.
That's how you get me today. Because that ignited more of a flame in me to be like, you chose the wrong one to turn down. Sorry. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right, right.
So I used it more as motivation. Do I hate it? Sure. Um, do I hate him? Not really. He was honest. Um, I asked the question, he gave me his answer.
Mhm. Mhm.
So no, I don't hate him. I don't hold any ill will towards him. I feel sorry for him that he missed out on such a package deal, but that's all I
Right.
got.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
But my tattoo master is black, so I was winning all the way around. So yeah,
Mm,
so
mhm.
that's
Mhm.
literally just, I guess, that coming into more of a, I always preach about tattoo being a rite of passage for black people. So coming
Mm.
rite of passage of what I was using tattoo for, and not feeling like negative, like I should have been reprimanded for it, or how they teach you, in terms of culture, that tattoo is is of the devil and all types of
Mm. Mm.
other
Mm.
things. After a while, it was like, this is of my people. So
Mhm.
now I need
Mhm.
to understand. It felt more ancestral. Um,
Mm.
it felt more it felt more innate. Like, once I got that first tattoo, I heard a voice. The voice told me what to do. I did it. That voice was pleased. And then on to the next experiences and the next ones, where literally every time I heard a voice, I just followed that whole lead with your heart and let logic follow
Mhm.
that voice led me to something that felt good. It wasn't hurting anybody, and I wasn't even hurting myself. I was now helping myself.
Mm. Mm.
So literally, I was like, well, let's stay here. And then I just started, now I just fine tuned, the things that I didn't want to deal with. So things that made me sad in tattoo culture. That was just like, that's not where my messaging is. That's not where my
Mhm.
practice lies. Then, figure out how to take that off the table where I wouldn't have to deal with that, and get to the people and the experiences that I should service. I attract a lot of who I am.
Mhm.
And so I attract a lot of self harmers. I attract a lot of people who are going through their own rite of passage, whether it's grief, just being able to celebrate a milestone or perseverance. I attract a lot of me, even
Mhm.
down to the hobbies, and I don't even have to work for that stuff to happen. So it was enough confirmation to know that following those voices is what I was supposed to do.
Mm, mm, mm. And what I have known in facilitation and being a priestess and all that is that we teach the things that we need to learn, right?
Yes.
So um, in you even just asking and having that experience, that was like, okay, that really propelled you into this different place of learning where, oh, okay, this is not just something for just anybody to slap ink on you. This is really something that can be treated as sacred. It can be fun, and it also can be treated as this sacred rite of
Yeah.
passage, this sacred space. And so you kind of create this sacred space, just as anybody, any kind of shaman or any kind of priestess or any kind of spiritual being. And so, do you find that a lot of your clients, because I'm assuming that as you started creating this sacred space and you are holding this space as these aren't just like art that I'm putting on your body. This is really a sacred thing that I am doing, and you're very careful about who you choose to impart this sacredness onto. Do you find that it's starting to translate into people starting to use those the tattoos as kind of a self-care as well?
Yes, yes. So that would bring us to what I call tattoo therapy. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I do have clients who come on regular basis, whether it's I have someone who comes on Tuesdays at the same time every Tuesday. And it's not necessarily that we'll tattoo every Tuesday, more than he just wants to be able to report into this space, check in. And if we tattoo, cool. If not, we may play video games, cool. But whatever you need of my energy at that moment in time, is what it is. Sometimes we could be slated for tattoo, but energy may not call for tattoo. You may be anxious, which in turn could make me anxious.
Mm.
And that I would take as it's not the right time. There's still some digging we have to do. But yeah, definitely customers take it as such more often than not. These days I'm getting more return text messages and stuff like, hey, what you said really stuck with me. You had no idea what was going on. I'm
Mm.
trust my own empathic nature. So those things that actually drop into my spirit, there I go sound like my mama all over again. But those things that literally drop there are the things that, I'll say. And, I try and make sure I let people know I'm not trying to intrude. I'm saying things with kindness and with love, but this is what I'm feeling. This is, something within you is trying to connect and communicate with something within me, and this is what's being said. So yeah, people trust it. Most of the time, what happens is when people come in and they're consciously in that space of I'm here for some type of healing or tattoo therapy or to get over some type of hump, hit that light at the end of the tunnel type of deal, they have more successful experiences than people who literally are just like, I just like your work and I just want a tattoo from you, whatever you do. I actually have to pull from those people to get them to get me to even connect with them so that I can create the way that's for them. Because what people don't, I think a lot of people see my work and they're just like, it's a really good tattoo. I want her to tattoo me. And what they don't realize is most of what they're attracted to in that tattoo isn't just a tattoo itself, but the energy that went into that tattoo, not just from me, but the person who's actually wearing it. So, it becomes a collaboration through and through for the tattoo and, and within spiritual meaning. So, yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. And so you hit all of my bases here because on my YouTube channel, I definitely talk about how I use spirituality, creativity, and productivity to help you live your best life at any age. So you actually have this whole productivity within this Kawaii Life that you're doing right now. Could you tell me a little bit more about all of that?
So what? Productivity in Kawaii Life. So we're building a nonprofit. I love saying this.
That's so exciting. I mean, who would have thought?
I never thought I'd be building a nonprofit and building it with a friend. So it's not just me building a nonprofit. And I think what's more exciting for me is that with DC Kawaii Style, while I started as a community because I didn't want to be alone in DC in terms of Kawaii and Lolita and Distress and J Fashion, I didn't want to build a community to where it seemed like all Imani all the time. It wasn't about me in the first place. It's just about friends being able to get together over Kawaii. And now it's not Imani all the time. In fact, community members will say, hey, I was thinking that I want to add this to DC Kawaii Style. And I'm like, let's place it, do it, and just to have that support that people are responsible for their creating the space just the same as I am, is very inspiring, encouraging. It's a lot. It's a lot to take in because it's not, again, things that you don't see happen.
Right.
But DC Kawaii Style is becoming a nonprofit. And we are on track to bring more J Fashion and Kawaii lifestyle to DC, where we can we say we commune over J Fashion and we engage over art. So communing where we open the door, you do stuff like, fashion walks, things where people will, any other time people won't walk up to you and just ask you these random questions. But because you have on things that you wouldn't see on a daily basis on the streets of DC, people are going to walk up and ask you questions. But that opens the door for so much more in terms of how this fashion helps us, with mental health or just, being able to, go out and, supersede social anxiety and have fun. People, like-minded people. So we're doing that. We are building a business that will be a part of this nonprofit, and it'll be an evergreen business so that way, or evergreen fundraising as a business. So like the idea of Girl Scouts, where they're a nonprofit, but their evergreen business for fundraising is Girl Scout cookies.
Right.
We'll have a little ink play shop online where we'll be able to encourage, market, and provide services for members in the community who want to start their own businesses, so that they don't have to go so far from their own hobbies and interests and things that actually help them with their own self-care and just feeling good about yourself.
And one of the things that I really love that you're doing as well is you created kind of this Kawaii planner to help people really start to break down their goals and start to really set some goals for themselves, so that they can start to build to what it is that they want, that brings joy in their life, so that they can have, that's the sustainable creative lifestyle. How did that come about?
Haha, that's funny. Again, with this whole mental health thing. One thing that people should know is a lot of things that I create beyond tattoo is usually created when I'm in my darkest spaces. For the light at the end of the tunnel myself. So with the planner, my dad passed. My dad passed almost a year and a half ago. It'll be 2 years in June, actually. And at some point, I didn't want to continue on with business. It got hard. And shit, I'm gonna cry.
It's okay.
And when it got hard, I just wanted to quit. Now, Little Ink Play Shop is only 2 years old, and I know my daddy, God rest his soul, would have brought his spirit back to be like, no, that's not how we raised you. So I had to find it in myself to keep going. So I was kind of waiting for the new Hobonichi to come out. So it was like stalking the Hobonichi site. But it's like, no, I need something now though, because if not, I'm not going to be able to hold on until this new Hobonichi come out.
Right.
So I started making these planner pages just to kind of just keep my mind in the mindset of, you still have to do business, Imani. Like, you're still going to have to reach these goals. Remind yourself of the goals that you have. Remind yourself of all the good things that you want to work towards. So I started making these planner pages, and I started breaking down everything DC Kawaii style, everything Little Ink Play Shop, everything I want for myself. And it was like every time I had to break something down even more, meant that I would end up with a whole other page. So I'd have to go right back, create a whole page. And I think after like 30 days or so, it was like, what the heck? You got a whole planner, girl. You know? So then I was like, I'll wait till I feel better and see how I feel about it. And if I feel good about it, then I'll put it out. I'll put it together and I'll put it out. That turned into, I'm on a journey for creativity coaching and building part of around creativity coaching. So what I ended up doing was I just started pulling things that I was studying from there, things that, that resonated with me. And then it was like, put this in the planner. I have quotes from Nipsey Hussle because I was listening to a lot of Nipsey to get me through. So I was like, I'm gonna put the ones that resound with me and being a creative. So those things, like if I went back to a song, and it was like, hey, I started quoting this one quote from the song, that's in the planner. So everything that I actually found as a light at the end of the tunnel is actually in that planner. And then put it together, and I was like, people are going to get a kick out of this. And I'll probably never have to tell people how it came about, but now I'm telling people something.
Well, and I think that's important, because I think, in this day of online and quick access and all this, we see the shiny end product. So, and we don't necessarily see all of we don't see the behind the scenes. And so I think it's really important, because the behind the scenes is equally as important, if not more important, than what you see immediately, because it was all of those little steps, all of those little windy, ways. It was not a linear journey. It was picking up this, it was picking up that, it was incorporating that, seeing how you work with this, putting it out. Having that experience of having the guy say, I wouldn't teach a black woman, let alone a black or a woman, the tattoo. Okay, so we go this way, we go that way, we go the other way to get to here. And so that's where the tears come from too, because, it's just like you get up there and win an award. You see all these actors and actresses winning these awards, and they start crying. And it's because they done went through something to get to that. And so really just being able to shine a light on that and say, hey, yeah, I've had mental health issues, and this is the outpouring of how I've dealt with it. And you can use these tools too. Powerful, 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 Imani.
Daddy would be proud, because the last thing we talked about was, before he got sick, was actually business, and streams of income, and how to actually grow my business. My daddy, they say black men don't have good credit, and my daddy had impeccable credit for a black man. And I was always like, I'm gonna get like you one day. And he was like, I don't know why you're not like me already. So some of the notes that he left me with, I actually imparted. And when the journal's for sale now, but when I actually started hustling it, I have a small shrine here to him and my friends. And I told him, I said, this is going to be that stream of income that's going to help us get those things that you worry about, or you worried about before you pass. So you'll know I'll be okay. It's all going to come from this journal, Daddy. And yeah, so I sold a few, and I wasn't even trying. So I'm excited to see where it goes from there. But yeah,
beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Well, folks, like I told you, you were in for a treat, and you may not have known how Imani has intersected with me and all of the things that I do, but I already saw it. And so Imani, thank you so very much for taking the time out of your schedule just to talk with me. And you're just an inspiration. I love being connected with you online, and I'm just deeply grateful to be connected with you in this deeper way of doing this interview. And you've given me a lot of food for thought as well, just on my own personal journey. And I think that's one of the great things about having this opportunity to share our stories, is that, you can see kind of where the human experience intersects. Like, your path is a little bit different, but I see nuggets of my own truth in your story. And so I think that we need each other, and I just wanted to make sure that I elevated you as much as you have elevated me. And again, just thank you.
I hope my stalking elevates you, because literally, I don't know. I tell people all the time that even over the internet, it sends vibes. Like, there's still energy that happens. And after a while, I was like, she's gonna know that I'm legit stalking her, because I just will hang out there on your page. But there's something. There's something in terms of energy that was there, that it was just like, she feels like a kindred spirit, you know what I mean? She feels like my sister, even though I don't know her. I wasn't gonna slide into your inbox and say all this. You here? You know what I mean? You never know what's actually happening on the other end. But it was still just like, I'm just going to hang out, and I'm going to trust it. So when you slid into my inbox, I was like, thank you, universe. Yes. So to anybody out there, just make sure, whatever vibes you feel, trust them, follow them. They lead you in all of the right directions all the time. So
beautiful. Beautiful closing message. So if you like this content, I will make sure that you have Imani's contact information. I kid you not, her Instagram is amazing, but what you really want to do is you want to subscribe to her newsletter, because she's got some juicy little things. She shares all the little details about DC Kawaii style, and she talks a lot about the business aspect and growing your presence and everything in a Kawaii creative way. So that's what I love about her. Definitely going to make sure that you want to follow her. And if you enjoyed this, do give me a thumbs up and subscribe, because I have more creatives coming up for you very, very soon. Imani, again, thank you so much. Do take care. And journal goddesses, until next time, love yourself. Bye-bye.